The small town of Vinales lies in the western part of Cuba. It's a busy little place, popular with tourists. The town lies in the beautiful Vinales Valley, a unique landscape of striking limestone karst formations. Birders come here to explore the forests and glades, specifically for three species best seen in the west of Cuba. Firstly, the endemic Cuban solitaire. Not the best looking of Cuba's birds, but undoubtedly the best songster. Secondly, olive-capped warbler. A pine tree specialist also found in the Bahamas as well as Cuba. The striking yellow throat might invite confusion with the yellow-throated warbler, but there is no supercilium, and the crown is distinctively olive when seen well. And thirdly, the Cuban grassquit, an increasingly uncommon endemic found in thickets adjacent to fields and other open habitats. It doesn't help that the bright colours of the male make it an attractive option for local caged bird enthusiasts. The Cuban grassquits were often found in the company of yellow-faced grassquits, a much commoner and more widespread species. As their name suggests, yellow-orange coloration is confined to the facial areas of the lores, chin, and around the eye, and is more obvious in the male. Some of the commoner Cuban endemics could also be found around Vinales, like the impeccably cute Cuban toady. These are most likely immature birds, as they have not yet developed the light blue iris of an adult. Cuban trogons, surprisingly easy to see for a trogon. The sexes are similarly plumaged. They are Cuba's national bird, as their colours are reckoned to match those of the Cuban flag. Cuban green woodpecker, the only member of its genus. Yellow-headed warbler. Cuban blackbird, conspicuous enough around settlements and farms. And Cuban orioles, best looked for feeding on flowering trees. Now considered a separate species as a result of the splitting of Greater Antillean oriole, based on genetic, morphological and vocalization differences. Some authorities now also consider the Cuban races of great lizard cuckoo as a separate species, not surprisingly named Cuban lizard cuckoo. This individual is of the mainland race, that are generally easy enough to see around the island. Although not endemic, the striking western spindalis is one of the restricted range species that can also be seen around Vinales. Sometimes also called western stripe-headed tanager, they can also be found in the Bahamas and on the Cayman Islands. Occupying the same range are West Indian woodpeckers. This is a male, with extensive red along the crown. On this female, the red only extends to the rear crown and nape. And Cuban bullfinches. Not actually a bullfinch in the European context, or indeed any type of finch, but similar in structure to a grassquit. Also found in the Bahamas, they are another species popular with Cubans as a caged bird. The Cuban Peewee is the smallest of the three regularly seen flycatchers on the island. When formerly lumped with Hispaniolan and Jamaican peewee, they were called crescent-eyed peewee, in recognition of the half ring behind the eye. Mid-sized of the three is the La Sagra's flycatcher, a typical bushy-headed Myarchus tyrant flycatcher, but which sometimes can look rather flat-crowned. And the largest is the loggerhead kingbird, with its distinctively blackish head and peaked crown, and contrasting grey back. Interestingly, many seen, as with this individual, showed obvious rufous fringes to the upper tail coverts. Northern mockingbirds were as common and conspicuous here as they were to be elsewhere in Cuba. Scaly-naped pigeons are found throughout the Caribbean islands, but are more often seen in flight than perched, but they can often be seen feeding on palm fruits around Vinales. American kestrels are even more widespread, with various races spread across the continent. The resident Cuban race is, however, probably the most easily distinguishable subspecies. It comes in two forms, one with almost completely white underparts, like this female, and the other rarer morph, having dark rufous underparts, like this male. Although this was the only summer tanager seen on the trip, North American breeders make up a large part of Cuba's bird population in the winter months. None more so than the palm warbler, seemingly the most abundant wintering passerine. Around Vinales, as well as elsewhere on the island, they were hard to miss wherever there were low thickets and open ground.